had in Africa 34 countries, I think, that signed up to the Rome Statute. Yes. And now you have Africans, time and again, African leaders saying this court isn't for us. We had President Museveni of Uganda saying at the end of 2014, I supported the court at first, he said, but they've turned it into a vessel for oppressing Africa, so I'm done with that court. Kenyan Foreign Minister, they're treating us like toddlers. Africa feels marginalized. On your watch, you as an African, you're losing Africa. You're losing Africa's participation in this court.
I don't think
That's a central blow to the credibility of this court.
I do not think that the voices of a few leaders or a few people from Africa should be used to disregard the support that we still have in Africa. We do have support in Africa. As I told you, just recently, we were an individual was arrested by Africans and surrendered to the court. This is the situation in Mali. And before that, we have had other African countries arresting individuals and surrendering them to the court. The recent Article 70 cases in the Bemba situation, we have had about 4 people at least, arrested in different parts of Africa and in Europe, arrested and surrendered to the court. This is just last year. So if we just take those who are criticizing the court unjustifiably, I must say, because their criticism is not backed by the relevant facts and what is actually happening.
Well, the own president of the ICC, she says it's a problem for your credibility that you just focused on Africa. Whether that was by design or just the way it happened, but it's a problem for your credibility. She says that. You're president of your ICC.
I think it is correct to say that most of our cases, or all of our cases at the moment, are in Africa. But that is not the whole picture thing.
I know it's not the whole picture, but it's the picture that they are looking at.
Yeah, it's the picture they are looking at.
And this is why at an African Union summit, where they want to taking steps to set up their own human rights court and justice court, what was the first thing they did? They voted themselves immunity as leaders, immunity from prosecution, which goes against everything that the ICC stands for. You were set up to end impunity, and they are perpetuating it. And you say you still have Africa on board?
Yes.
They were unanimous. They were unanimous in voting themselves immunity from prosecution.
Well,
every member of the AU.
That is definitely not from the advice of the ICC.
No.
Because in our statute, and this will continue to be, we don't advise them. We do not advise them. In this statute, there is no immunity, as you know, for head of state or whoever you may be, whatever your official capacity.
They just voted it for themselves.
But that is for themselves, and it is for a court. I do not think that. Firstly, I want to say that.
You're proud of what they did?
Definitely, I'm not proud. I'm not proud of that, because I think the kinds of court that the ICC is, why it was set up, is to exactly deal with that.
So it was a slap in the face for them to do that. A slap in the face.
I don't know why what they're doing, setting up their court, should be a slap in the face for ICC.
Because it goes against everything that they've signed up with you and the Rome Statute.
That does not mean that the ICC, us, will not do our duties in accordance with the legal mandate. It doesn't mean.
It just means that they won't go along with it. That's all.
Well, as far as crimes,
and they've already proved they won't go along.
As far as crimes within the jurisdiction of the court are committed, and we have jurisdiction, there will be no immunity for whoever it may be. For whoever. This is clear, and this is what we will continue to do. This is our mandate. What others are doing, unfortunately, is not within my legal mandate or that of the court. So, but I also want to say something. Setting up a court to try these atrocity crimes is also not against ICC's principles. In fact, ICC is a court of last resort. We will be encouraged by national jurisdictions taking up their responsibility to investigate and prosecute these crimes, and also trying to set up other courts to deal with these crimes. This is why the ICC was set up, so that when these courts don't function, when we have jurisdiction, the ICC can step in as a court of last resort.
All right. Madam Prosecutor, you come from the Gambia. You come from a country with one of the worst human rights records in Africa. You served a dictator with one of the worst human rights records in Africa. In September last year, Human Rights Watch reported that the Gambian population lives in a climate of fear in which government justice and accountability for abuses is utterly beyond reach. Why are you silent about the human rights abuses in your own country?
Because it is not my duty or my responsibility, or does not fall within my mandate, particularly as prosecutor of the ICC, to pronounce or to advise, whether favorably or not, any government, including my government, on political issues.
And not to say where you see clear abuses of human rights?
I have not done it for any other country. I will also not do it for my...
You didn't mind wagging your finger at the Security Council and reminding them of their inaction.
The Security Council, we have a relationship in which they referred a situation to us.
You didn't mind speaking out over Burundi or Central African Republic?
Because when I speak out, and I want this to be very clear, anywhere that I speak out and make a declaratory statement, I am urging people not to commit crimes that fall within the jurisdiction of the ICC. This is my responsibility. I am not the Commissioner for Human Rights. I'm a prosecutor.
Yeah, and the Human Rights Watch reported that crimes in Gambia included, by state security forces and militias, arbitrary arrest and detention, torture, enforced disappearance, and unlawful killing. Something which might fall within your remit, reasonably be expected to fall within your remit. What would be so wrong in you warning them against doing that?
Because,
what would
as
be
I
so
said,
wrong? What's the worst that could happen to you, Madam
as a prosecutor? It is not about myself. It is about my legal mandate.
But you have huge independence. You're a prosecutor.
Of course I do.
You can point the finger.
But
it's you who are deciding not to say anything about this.
I am not going to make pronouncement on political issues that are happening in countries.
This is not political. This is abuse. This is violations of human. This is killing and torture.
Is it crimes that fall within my jurisdiction? That is the question.
These are crimes.
But they have to fall within my jurisdiction. It should not be so difficult to understand that I'm a prosecutor, and under the Rome Statute, my crimes are war crimes, genocide, and crimes against humanity.
And you quoted as
saying, those crimes, even where they occur, must satisfy the gravity threshold to warrant the intervention of the ICC.
And you're famous for saying, Madam Prosecutor, I like to see that the victims know that they have a voice,
yes,
but not in the Gambia.
I think this is unfair to say. It is unfair to say because, as I told you, I go after crimes that fall within my jurisdiction. Not any crimes. Not all sorts of crimes. They have to be crimes that are within the jurisdiction of the ICC.
And murder and torture doesn't fall within your remit.
When we look at situations, when we decide to look into any situations where we feel that our crimes have been committed, there are several issues that we look at, including gravity, warranting the intervention of the ICC. I must not raise expectations so much that I am not able to satisfy that. It's not possible.
Madam Prosecutor,
committed.
The helpless, the dispossessed, the abused die when people like you remain silent, don't they? You know this to be true. All around the world, people are dying because important people are staying silent.
Tim,
how can you stay silent? You know that human rights abuses are being committed, and you have the chance to speak out. Because what's the worst that can happen to you
my
for speaking out?
My court is not a court of human rights. I must also remain independent. I must remain impartial.
What do you want to be known for? What do you want to be known for? Staying silent or talking out?
I have been talking out where I can talk out. Where I cannot, I will not. And I will not be dragged into saying something which can jeopardize my independence in the future or my impartiality. That is why when these crimes happen In a place where I do not have jurisdiction, I will not pronounce anything. I will not, because it is not my jurisdiction. I do not have the legal mandate to do so. This is why I will remain silent. But where I have jurisdiction, and I say this without fear or favor, where I have jurisdiction and the legal requirements are met for me to intervene, I will not hesitate. I will not hesitate to intervene where the legal requirements within the Rome Statute that guides my action, where they are met, I will not hesitate.
Fatou Bensouda, thanks very much for being on Conflict Zone.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now this is the one and only Amulragal FM, playing you the best in
Kora, Ndaga, Seurba, Soca, Afrofusion, Reggae, Dancehall, Rocksteady, Soul, Jazz and Dancehall.
Alongside DJ Bubba is. Tune in and don't stop tuning.
Is in The Hague, the headquarters of the International Criminal Court. This week, Conflict Zone is in The Hague, the headquarters of the International Criminal Court, the ICC, and my guest is Fatou Bensouda, the chief prosecutor. Despite her Gambian nationality, she's lost the support of many African nations who had first welcomed the court and have now decided that it's biased against them. Is she part of the solution or the problem? Fatou Bensouda, welcome to Conflict Zone.
Thank you.
13 years of your court's operation, $1 billion so far spent, 2 convictions. How can anybody say that this is worth the money?
Indeed, I would say it is worth the money. It is about the rule of law. It is about...
In 2 cases.
It is about ensuring that there is accountability. And it is not really about the number of convictions. It is important, of course, to have convictions, but what is more important is the impact that the court has had so far in its infancy.
Okay, I want to talk to you about the impact it's had, because it stopped none of the global war crimes, a number of which seem to be going up and up. We've had Israel, Palestine, Sudan, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Egypt, Ukraine. No deterrent effect whatsoever visible from your court.
I beg to differ. I think that we should not be judging the court and its performance because atrocities.
What else can we judge it on?
Because atrocities are still being the court's performance, because the atrocities continue to be committed. If you take, for example, at the national level, the criminal justice system has been existing for several years, but it hasn't stopped people from committing crimes. So this should not be the measure in which the ICC is judged. It should be looked at for the preventive impact that it has had, and I believe it has had this, because the court is not only for investigating and prosecuting war crimes, but it also should have this preventive impact.
I understand, but we just listed the number of countries where it hasn't prevented anything from happening. And if we just take Egypt, for instance, August 2013, we had perhaps the largest single-day massacre of demonstrators in a single day in recent history, according to Human Rights Watch, according to other human rights groups. Your court, and I gather you gave a number of procedural reasons why your court couldn't get involved in this, but your court had nothing to say about this, nothing to say whatsoever about one of the most serious crimes to take place on your watch. Why is that?
We have, Tim, to remember that the court operates based on jurisdiction. The jurisdiction that we have, and we have to follow strictly this legal mandate according to the Rome Statute.
Then the statute is no longer fit for purpose, is it? If it can't prevent the largest single-day massacre in recent history, or have anything to say about it afterwards or follow up with any investigation, then it's not fit for purpose, is it?
I do believe it is still fit for purpose for those who have signed and ratified the Rome Statute and are members of the International Criminal Court. This is what we should remember, that the ICC cannot operate in situations where we do not have jurisdiction.
What would have prevented you, Madam Prosecutor, of saying, for instance, we have reason to believe there has been killing on a massive scale and we are watching this in case it falls within our jurisdiction later on or the Security Council refers it to us? You could have said that. You could have said something to show that you're watching, you're aware, because you're the court of last resort in this world today.
I do not think that it is my mandate